The planet that shouldn't exist. Warning. Warning. Class 14 Death World detected. The alarm echoed through the Galactic Science Council's flagship vessel. Every scientist, officer, and observer in the command center froze. The giant holographic display showed a blue and green planet orbiting an ordinary yellow star near the edge of a quiet spiral arm. At first glance, it looked beautiful. Then the numbers appeared. Gravity, a 1.0 standard human equivalent. Atmospheric pressure, extreme. Predator density, catastrophic. Weather volatility, severe. Tectonic activity, unstable. Microbial threat index, a maximum. Death World classification, 14. A terrified silence filled the room. Class 14. No known intelligent species had ever evolved on a Class 14 world. Most civilizations came from Class 2 to Class 5 planets. The toughest species in the galaxy originated from Class 8 worlds. Anything above Class 10 was considered biologically impossible. Yet the scans were clear. The planet existed. "Are we certain?" asked Chief Researcher Talvek. The scanning officer swallowed nervously. "We've checked 7 times. The readings are accurate." A younger scientist looked pale. "Nothing should survive there." Talvek nodded. "And yet something does." The room fell silent again. Because their deep-range sensors had detected cities. Thousands of them. Industrial networks. Satellites. Space stations. Signs of a technological civilization. Someone lived there. Someone had evolved on a Class 14 Death World. The discovery shook the galaxy. Within weeks, the Galactic Council assembled an emergency summit. Representatives from over 400 species gathered to discuss the impossible finding. Gigantic screens displayed images of the planet. Massive oceans. Violent hurricanes. Volcanoes. Lightning storms. Frozen polar regions. Predators with sharp teeth. Creatures capable of killing each other with venom, claws, and brute force. The council chamber buzzed with fear. This world is madness. No civilization could emerge there. The scans must be wrong. Then the final report arrived. The species inhabiting the planet had a name. Humans. The room became silent. One elder diplomat spoke carefully. "How advanced are they?" The answer made everyone uneasy. "Early interstellar capability." Murmurs spread instantly. They already had space travel. Primitive by galactic standards. But still space travel. A civilization from a Class 14 Death World had reached the stars. That had never happened before. Not once. The council immediately voted to send a scientific expedition. Their mission was simple. Observe the humans. Determine how they survived. Avoid provoking them. Most believed the humans would be heavily armored creatures. Perhaps giant reptilian predators. Maybe creatures with natural weapons and thick armor. Anything less seemed impossible. Months later, the expedition arrived in the Sol system. As they approached Earth, the crews watched with growing anxiety. The planet seemed alive. Storm systems stretched across continents. Lightning flashed across oceans. Massive mountain ranges cut through the landscape. Predators roamed forests. Sharks ruled the seas. Venomous creatures crawled through deserts. Even tiny microorganisms appeared capable of causing deadly diseases. One scientist whispered, "This planet is trying to kill everything on it." Then they saw something even stranger. Humans. Millions of them. Walking casually through cities. Swimming in oceans. Climbing mountains. Flying aircraft through storms. Living directly on the surface of a Class 14 Death World as if it were completely normal. Talvek stared at the footage. A human family was having a picnic. Children laughed. Dogs played nearby. Birds flew overhead. Everything looked peaceful. Yet behind those smiling faces existed one of the most dangerous ecosystems ever discovered. How are they not terrified? Talvek asked. Nobody had an answer. The mystery deepened when the humans detected the alien ships. Instead of panic, Earth transmitted a greeting. A simple message. Friendly. Polite. Curious. The Galactic Council expected fear. Instead they received an invitation. Welcome to Earth. We'd love to meet you. The scientists exchanged nervous glances. Meet them. On that planet. The deadliest world ever discovered. Talvek looked toward the blue sphere below. For the first time in his long career, he felt genuine fear. Not because of the humans, but because humans somehow called this nightmare world home. Welcome to the Death World. The landing shuttle shook violently as it entered Earth's atmosphere. Inside, the alien delegation sat in complete silence. Chief Researcher Talvek gripped his seat. The shuttle's warning systems flashed repeatedly. Turbulence detected. Lightning activity detected. Atmospheric instability detected. A nervous scientist looked at the readings. Is this normal? The human pilot sitting calmly at the front laughed. Pretty normal, yeah. The entire alien delegation stared at him. Normal. The shuttle was literally flying through a thunderstorm. Bolts of lightning illuminated the clouds around them. The ship rattled. Rain hammered the hull. Yet the human pilot seemed completely relaxed. Talvek made a note in his datapad. Humans appear dangerously comfortable with environmental hazards. Minutes later, the shuttle landed at an international reception center. The aliens stepped outside. Immediately, Earth's atmosphere overwhelmed their senses. The air was rich with oxygen. Plants covered the landscape. Birds flew overhead. Insects buzzed around flowers. Everything seemed alive. Too alive. One scientist scanned a nearby patch of grass. The device beeped rapidly. Chief, there are over 2 million microorganisms in this handful of soil. Several delegates stepped back. The human guide, Ambassador Sarah Morgan, smiled. Yep. Earth's full of life. Talvek stared. Doesn't that concern you? Sarah looked confused. Why would it? The alien scientists exchanged worried glances. To them, a world filled with countless microorganisms sounded terrifying. To humans, it was apparently Tuesday. The tour continued. As they traveled through the city, the aliens observed humans everywhere. People walked casually through crowded streets. Children rode bicycles. Workers hurried between buildings. Nobody seemed concerned about the dangers surrounding them. Then the first incident happened. A small human child suddenly ran toward a large animal. The aliens froze. The creature possessed powerful muscles, sharp teeth, and the mass of a small transport vehicle. Several scientists screamed. Predator. Security officers reached for emergency weapons. Sarah burst out laughing. It's okay. The child wrapped her arms around the animal. The massive beast happily wagged its tail. It's a dog. Talvek blinked. You domesticated a predator. Thousands of years ago. The scientists immediately updated their reports. Humans do not merely survive predators. They befriend them. The revelation spread rapidly through the Galactic Council's communication network. Many species initially assumed it was a translation error. It wasn't. Humans had literally taken dangerous hunting animals and turned them into household companions. That information alone shocked half the galaxy. But Earth wasn't finished surprising them. The next day, Sarah invited the delegation to visit a wildlife reserve. Talvek strongly objected. You want us to intentionally enter an area containing dangerous animals? Of course. Why? Sarah smiled. Because it's beautiful. The aliens could barely comprehend her answer. Hours later, they entered the reserve. Gigantic animals roamed open plains. Powerful predators stalked through forests. Massive birds circled overhead. Everywhere they looked, something possessed claws, teeth, venom, horns, or overwhelming physical strength. One scientist fainted after seeing a crocodile. Another nearly suffered cardiac failure while watching a snake demonstration. Meanwhile, the human visitors took photographs. Some were even smiling. Talvek felt his understanding of reality breaking apart. Everything humans considered beautiful seemed lethal. Everything they considered normal seemed insane. That evening, the delegation attended a welcome banquet. For the first time, they had an opportunity to ask questions directly. Talvek stood and addressed the room. There is something we don't understand. The whole became quiet. You live on the deadliest planet ever discovered. Heads nodded. You face storms, predators, diseases, earthquakes, volcanoes, and countless biological threats. More nods. Talvek looked genuinely confused. How did your species survive? The room fell silent. Then an elderly human stood. His face carried the wisdom of many years. He smiled warmly. We survived because we never had another choice. The aliens listened carefully. Our ancestors faced storms and learned to build shelters. He continued. They faced predators and learned cooperation. They faced disease and learned medicine. They faced hunger and learned agriculture. They faced disasters and learned resilience. The old man looked around the room. Earth challenged us every single day. His smile grew wider. But every challenge taught us something. Talvek suddenly realized something profound. Humans weren't strong because Earth was safe. Humans were strong because Earth was dangerous. Every generation had been forged by hardship. Every problem forced them to adapt. Every threat made them stronger. And for the first time, the Galactic Council began to understand why a civilization from a Class 14 death world had reached the stars. Earth hadn't merely allowed humanity to survive. It had trained them. And the galaxy was only beginning to discover what that truly meant. The galaxy learns to fear human. 3 months after first contact, humanity became the most discussed species in the galaxy. Every scientific institution wanted data. Every government wanted reports. Every military wanted threat assessments. The problem was that the more the galaxy learned about humans, the stranger they became. The Galactic Council established a special research division dedicated entirely to studying Earth. At first, the findings seemed unbelievable. Then they became terrifying. One report revealed that humans voluntarily climbed mountains so high that oxygen levels became dangerously low. Another showed humans diving into oceans deep enough to crush many alien species. A third demonstrated humans jumping out of perfectly functioning aircraft for recreation. The council members assumed the reports were fake. Unfortunately, they were not. Chief Researcher Talvek personally presented the evidence. A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. Humans wearing strange equipment were falling through the sky. Several council members screamed. They are crashing. No, Talvek replied. They paid for this experience. The chamber fell silent. The humans deployed parachutes and landed safely. A stunned delegate whispered. They intentionally did that. Talvek nodded. The next recording began. Humans were surfing gigantic ocean waves. Massive walls of water towered over them. One council member nearly fainted. Another looked physically ill. Surely those are emergency evacuation procedures. Talvek shook his head. No. They call it a sport. The room exploded with horrified chatter. Every week brought new discoveries. Humans raced vehicles at dangerous speeds. They explored active volcanoes. They camped in wilderness regions populated by predators. Some even traveled to Antarctica, a frozen wasteland that most galactic species considered barely survivable. Yet humans treated these environments as vacation destinations. The phrase human normal quickly entered galactic vocabulary. It became shorthand for activities that appeared completely irrational. Then came the incident that changed everything. A mining colony on the outer frontier issued an emergency distress signal. The colony belonged to the Carrot Union, a peaceful species known for engineering excellence. Their planet contained valuable minerals, making it an attractive target for pirates. For years, the Galactic Council had protected the region. But this time, the attack was different. A notorious raider fleet known as the Void Claws launched a massive assault. The colony's defenses collapsed within hours. Desperate messages flooded council channels. Civilian casualties increasing. Defensive grid offline. Requesting immediate assistance. Unfortunately, the nearest military fleet was 4 days away. The colony didn't have 4 days. Everyone knew what would happen. The pirates would seize the settlement. Thousands would die. Then an unexpected transmission arrived. A human cargo vessel happened to be nearby. Its captain contacted the colony. "What's the situation?" The governor explained everything. The pirate fleet. The damaged defenses. The impossible odds. The governor ended with a warning. "You should leave immediately." The human captain looked confused. "Leave?" "Yes. They are heavily armed." The captain glanced toward his crew. Then he smiled. The expression made several observers uncomfortable. "Sounds like they picked the wrong colony." The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, analysts watched in disbelief. The cargo ship wasn't a warship. It wasn't even armed properly. There was no logical reason for humans to intervene. Yet the vessel accelerated directly toward the pirate fleet. Council officials assumed the humans were making a terrible mistake. The pirates thought the same thing. They opened communication channels. "This area is under Void Claw control." The human captain responded calmly. "Not anymore." The pirates laughed. Then the battle began. And the galaxy witnessed something extraordinary. Humans fought differently. Every species followed predictable military doctrines. Humans did not. They improvised. Adapted. Ignored conventional limitations. Used damage systems in ways nobody expected. Turned mining equipment into weapons. Converted cargo containers into defensive barriers. Modified equipment during combat. What should have been a quick defeat became a nightmare for the pirates. Hours later, the Void Claws retreated. The colony survived. The galaxy was stunned. Talvek studied the battle recordings repeatedly. Eventually, he understood what had happened. Humans weren't fearless. They simply viewed danger differently. To a species raised on a Class 14 death world, the chaos wasn't unusual. It was familiar. Every storm. Every disaster. Every challenge on Earth had prepared them for moments like this. While other species froze when plans failed, humans adapted. While others panicked, humans experimented. And when circumstances became impossible, humans became dangerous. For the first time, military leaders across the galaxy began asking a question that nobody had considered before. What would happen if humanity ever built a real fleet? And deep inside the halls of the Galactic Council, a growing sense of unease began to spread. Because the answer frightened everyone. The day the Deathworlders saved the galaxy. 5 years after humanity's discovery, the galaxy faced its greatest crisis. It began with a single colony disappearing. Then another. Then 10 more. Entire star systems went silent. Communication networks collapsed. Trade routes vanished. Military patrols stopped reporting back. Fear spread across non-space. At first, officials suspected pirates. Then rogue factions. Then some kind of natural disaster. The truth was far worse. Deep beyond explored territory, an ancient species had awakened. They called themselves the Voth. Nobody knew how old they were. Nobody knew where they came from. What mattered was simple. They were powerful. Terrifyingly powerful. Their ships dwarfed modern war fleets. Their technology surpassed anything the Galactic Council possessed. Most disturbing of all, they viewed younger civilizations as insignificant. When diplomatic envoys attempted contact, the Voth responded with a single message. You occupy resources that belong to superior life. Then they opened fire. World after world fell. Entire fleets disappeared within minutes. For centuries, the galaxy had known peace. Now it faced extinction. Emergency sessions were held daily. Military leaders proposed desperate plans. Scientists searched for weaknesses. Nothing worked. Every battle ended the same way. Defeat. Talvek sat inside the Galactic Council chamber watching another fleet report. The results were devastating. 300 warships destroyed. Millions displaced. Another sector lost. Silence filled the room. Nobody had solutions left. Then a representative stood. A human. Ambassador Sarah Morgan. May I speak? The council reluctantly agreed. Sarah approached the center platform. She studied the frightened faces around her. Then she asked a simple question. Has anyone tried fighting them differently? Confused murmurs spread. A military commander answered. We have followed every established doctrine. Sarah smiled slightly. That's the problem. Several council members exchanged nervous looks. Human smiles during crises had become infamous. They usually meant something dangerous was about to happen. Sarah continued. The Voth are stronger. Nobody disagreed. They have better technology. Again, everyone nodded. They expect us to fight according to predictable rules. The chamber became quiet. Sarah folded her arms. So let's stop being predictable. Within weeks, humanity launched an operation unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Traditional military strategists were horrified. Human commanders appeared to ignore centuries of accepted doctrine. They split fleets into small groups. Used civilian vessels as decoys. Created false signals. Modified ships mid-mission. Turned asteroid fields into traps. Converted mining stations into weapon platforms. One admiral famously described the strategy as absolute madness. The human commander replied. Exactly. The first engagement shocked everyone. A Voth fleet entered a supposedly undefended system. Suddenly, hundreds of automated mining drones attacked from every direction. Asteroids exploded into clouds of debris. Sensors became useless. Communication networks jammed. The Voth won the battle. But not cleanly. For the first time, they suffered meaningful losses. Then it happened again. And again. And again. Humans refused to fight the way the Voth expected. Every battlefield became chaotic. Every victory became costly. Every prediction became unreliable. The Voth grew frustrated. Then they grew angry. That was exactly what humanity wanted. Because while the Voth possessed superior technology, humans possessed something else. Experience. Thousands of years surviving a death world had taught them one lesson above all others. No plan survives contact with reality. Adapt or die. The Voth had relied on superiority for so long that they had forgotten how to adapt. Humans never forgot. Earth never allowed them to. Months later, the final battle arrived. The Voth launched everything they had toward the galactic core. A decisive strike. One final victory. Instead, they encountered something unexpected. Unity. Hundreds of species stood together. Human fleets formed the center. Alien fleets guarded the flanks. Civilian vessels carried supplies. Engineers worked alongside soldiers. Scientists supported commanders. For the first time in history, the entire galaxy fought as one. The battle lasted 3 days. By the end, the Voth retreated. For the first time in thousands of years. They lost. Celebrations erupted across known space. Entire worlds cheered. Millions cried with relief. The nightmare was over. But among all the celebrations, one realization spread through every government, military academy, then scientific institution. Humanity had changed history. Not because they were the strongest. Not because they possessed the best technology. But because they had spent their entire existence surviving the impossible. And when the galaxy finally faced an impossible challenge, the Deathworlders showed everyone how to endure. The greatest test, however, was still ahead. Because the Voth had left behind a secret that would reveal the true reason Earth terrified even ancient civilizations. The secret hidden in Earth's past. The war was over. The Voth had retreated beyond known space. Across the galaxy, celebrations lasted for weeks. Worlds that had once feared extinction now looked toward a brighter future. Yet inside the ruins of a captured Voth command vessel, a discovery was made that changed everything. The ship's archives contained records older than most civilizations. Ancient star maps. Historical observations. Biological surveys. And one file that carried the highest possible security classification. Its title stunned every researcher who saw it. Project Deathworld. Talvek personally led the investigation. Days later, the Galactic Council gathered once again. The atmosphere was tense. The giant chamber fell silent as Talvek activated the holographic display. Ancient records appeared above the assembly. The Voth were not explorers, he began. They were observers. Confused whispers spread through the audience. Talvek continued. For hundreds of thousands of years, they monitored developing civilizations. Images flashed across the screen. Young alien species. Primitive worlds. Evolutionary records. Then came Earth. The room became completely silent. A younger council member spoke. What did they discover? Talvek took a deep breath. The Voth feared Earth. The statement shocked everyone. Feared Earth? How could an ancient civilization fear a primitive developing world? Talvek displayed another document. The Voth identified a pattern. New data appeared. Every highly advanced species originated from stable worlds. Safe worlds. Predictable worlds. Worlds where survival was relatively easy. Then Earth appeared beside them. The difference was staggering. Violent weather. Predators. Disease. Natural disasters. Environmental extremes. A planet that seemed designed to challenge life at every opportunity. The Voth believed Deathworld species represented a unique evolutionary threat. The room listened carefully. Most intelligent life evolves in safety. Another image appeared. But humans evolved under constant pressure. Talvek highlighted hundreds of recorded events. Ice ages. Volcanic eruptions. Pandemics. Floods. Wars. Famines. Economic collapses. Humanity had endured them all. Again and again. For thousands of years. One council member suddenly understood. They weren't studying Earth. Talvek nodded. They were measuring humanity. The truth was terrifying. Long before humans invented radio, the Voth had predicted something unusual. Every catastrophe that should have destroyed humanity instead made them stronger. Every crisis accelerated innovation. Every challenge increased adaptability. They both reached a conclusion that frightened them enough to classify Earth as a strategic threat. A single line from the ancient report appeared on the hologram. The chamber read it together. If this species reaches the stars, conventional superiority may become irrelevant. Silence followed. Because the prediction had come true. The humans had defeated them. Not through superior technology. Not through greater numbers. But through resilience. The very quality Earth had forced them to develop. Years later, the galaxy changed permanently. Former rivals became allies. Worlds shared knowledge freely. Human universities taught courses on adaptation and crisis management. Military academies studied Earth history. Scientists traveled to Earth to understand the relationship between hardship and innovation. The once feared death world became one of the most visited planets in known space. Tourists climbed mountains, explored forests, visited oceans. Many still found Earth terrifying. But they also found it inspiring. One evening, decades after first contact, an elderly Talvek stood on a hill overlooking a human city. The sun slowly disappeared beyond the horizon. Lights illuminated the landscape below. Beside him stood Sarah Morgan, now older herself. Talvek smiled. You know, when we first discovered Earth, I thought your world was a mistake. Sarah laughed softly. We get that a lot. Talvek looked toward the stars. No. His voice grew thoughtful. I think Earth was a lesson. Sarah raised an eyebrow. A lesson. Talvek nodded. The galaxy believed comfort created greatness. The lights of the city shimmered beneath them. But your species proved something different. What was that? Talvek smiled. The strongest civilizations are not born from easy worlds. His eyes turned toward the blue planet below. They are forged by difficult ones. For a moment, neither spoke. The wind moved gently through the grass. A peaceful scene. Yet beneath their feet rested the most dangerous inhabited world ever discovered. A world of storms. Predators. Earthquakes. Volcanoes. And countless challenges. A Class 14 death world. The deadliest planet in known space. Humans simply called it home. And that was why the galaxy would never underestimate them again.